the pace of change has been the fastest ever, right? And obviously it's not slowing down, it's only going to get faster. The customer is now looking for instant response to what he wants. Right. He does not want to stand in queues for bank branches anymore. The work that was being done by relationship managers can now be shifted to be done by AI agents who can then prompt the customers to doing things differently. A lot of fraud detection and financial crime are getting supported with AI. We need more women in the AI workforce to shift their role towards taking on these more changing roles around data and AI. AI is not going to replace your jobs, but people who do not adopt AI are going to be replaced by people who do. The most important aspect of the skill that you need is to be change ready. If you do not try and experiment with technology and do not try to adopt technology, you are definitely going to be left behind.
Hi, Shalini, and welcome to the About Her show once again. You've been here before and you know what it is all about, but just to kind of, reiterate for you and for the listeners and viewers, this is a show where we get trailblazing women to share the story of their lives, their journeys with us. To tell us all about it, the successes, failures, ups and downs, challenges, so that not only do they get a platform to showcase themselves, but they also help us inspire other women who have dreams, ambitions, but, as we understand, a lot of them are not able to follow those dreams. And then along with women, we also get men on the show, men who champion such trailblazing women, because we believe that for a truly gender-inclusive world, men and women need to be allies in this journey. Now, of course, earlier when you would come on the show, we'd spoken about your life and how you got into, the space of tech and all of that. So today we want to expand a little more on that. In fact, not a little more, a lot more on that. And we want to understand all about, digitalization, AI, the role of women, how are they taking it on, how are they being accepted, not accepted, what is it, because I'm sure there are some kind of gender elements here too. So we want to know all about that. So once again, a very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. And it's absolutely a pleasure to be back again, having this conversation with you. The last conversation I absolutely enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to this one as well. And I think I'm very inspired by the work that you do here, building this platform, making it available for a number of our women in the workforce to kind of look at people as role models. And if any of us can touch lives of these people and make a difference in any small way, I think it's a great story. So great to see the kind of work that you're doing.
Thank you. And I can assure you that this will make a difference. We are going out there, we are reaching out to people. So there is no way that it won't. So let's get started with the first question. So as I understand and I know you've spent years building digital first banking experience. Now tell me, what drew you into banking technology and how has your journey evolved over the years?
Absolutely. So I started my career in technology as a technologist right after college, being campus placed in one of the prestigious organizations those days called Tata Engineering Pune. We were a batch of 60 engineers, 6 of them being women. So of course, I was a very privileged few. But having said that, it was a very intensive experience in terms of shaping my career journey for the future. So we would be trained in technology. So we would be trained in the first half of the day in going through technology learning. And the second half of the day, we would be doing hands-on in terms of how this is going to make a difference to the work that we were doing. So, for example, I started with working on IBM mainframe systems, where we would log on with dummy terminals, work on Pro-C in building processes, as well as look at foundational concepts on relational database management system. That in a way started my foray into what we call as enterprise-wide applications. While we were doing that, you can imagine banking was still archaic. Banking was still about going to the branch, getting your monies from the teller, and ATMs were just about starting. So I still remember getting my monies from the bank branch as my first pay. So ATMs were just about starting, and mobile phones were also, kind of becoming more popular and more common. And that, in a way, you would say that is the beginning of the digitalization journey as we see in various parts of the enterprise, whether it's banking and others. So in terms of my experience, I have a lot. I started with technology. I did a lot of work in telecom billing, and in manufacturing, of course, with telco, and now with banking in the last 15 years, looking at building digitalization journeys for the bank. So if you look at the technology journey, for a pure technologist, it would be about starting with mainframe, moving to client server, looking at product development and product innovation, and then looking at a more services-based architecture where we leverage what we call as good, strong legacy platforms, but look at creating customer journeys and digitalization of the journeys for the banks. So that's the foray into enterprise-wide activity. Now, of course, when we look at the technology transformation, the pace of change has been the fastest ever, right? And obviously, it's not slowing down; it's only going to get faster. But I think I've been very lucky in terms of being able to ride this wave in the last 25 years, starting as a pure software developer, and now looking at running businesses. I also forayed into my own startup. I ran a startup for about 5 years, when startup word itself was probably newly coined. And that was about building business process management solutions for medical legal insurance processing. Again, in terms of technology terms, it was about building innovative products and providing them as a service. So that's been pretty much my technology experience in a very, very nutshell in the last 25 years.
So inspiring, so fascinating, because as you know, there is still, as far as women are concerned, we are still in minority, and it is so inspiring to listen to someone, to hear someone's journey, and of course, the fact that you started all those years ago. So, okay, you mentioned, digital transformation in banking and all that. So tell me, what do you see as the biggest shift in customer behavior that's influencing digital payments today?
Yeah. So, when you look, I'm going to kind of also cover a bit about digital transformation in banking, which is beyond payments now. So when you look at, how the customer interacts with the bank, that has completely changed in the last so many years, right? And technology, as they say, is a great leveler. And everyone now has the same kind of a banking experience, for the customer, whether it's a woman, whether it's a person coming in from, a small village, or, or any diverse customer, the banking experience is the same. So technology being the leveler is created that equitable experience through digitalization. Now, when a customer would interact with the bank, you would either go to the branch, then over the years would start moving towards e-banking, and then, of course, now mobile banking. Now, in terms of the technology, these were completely independent technology stacks. How the enterprise has changed is that they have now started looking at what they call as the omni-channel experience, which means technology transformations have happened such that in whatever way a customer is interacting, the technology is able to cater to that channel, as they say, right? Whether it's mobile, e-banking, or branch. So I've been at the helm of looking at or doing work in those transformation journeys. Now, let's take an example of what does it mean for the customer now. To your question, what has changed for the customer? The customer is now looking for instant, response to what he wants. He does not want to stand in queues for bank branches anymore. If he needs to open an account, he wants almost real-time account opening. If he wants a debit card to be coming to him, he would ideally want the debit card to be issued instantly. We know currently a physical debit card can take about 5 to 6 days to be physically available, and you can start using. But banks are now looking at building what they call as virtual cards, and virtual cards can have instant issuance, as well as instant ready to spend.
Wow.
And the customers can start looking at spending through the virtual cards. Now, all these kind of experiences that we talk about the customer are in the bank, in the technology terminology, are called customer journeys.
Okay.
And the banks are looking at how do we enhance these customer journeys so that we can create the best banking experience for our customers. And that's how it is changing. The customer also wants to do it himself, so DIY, do it yourself kind of a behavior that is shifting. So banks are now making it more accessible, easier for the customer to be able to interact with the mobile banking apps, so that the customer can make all his changes on his own. So that's a big shift that we are seeing when it comes to banking and how the customer interacts with the bank.
Okay. So tell me, if we build on this, you're talking about all these changes happening. So basically, these are innovations, new things which, the banks are thinking of doing. So looking ahead, say in about 5 to 10 years from now, what innovations do you expect to see in the cards, payments ecosystem, especially with AI, biometrics, and tokenization?
Yeah, absolutely. So the banks are now, in a way, relabeling themselves as technology platforms.
Okay.
They're saying that we are a technology platform first and then a bank later.
Okay.
And this kind of a shift that you're seeing is happening because a number of neobanks, which started as fintechs, are providing some excellent features to the customers. One such example is Revolut in the UK. Now, Revolut Bank started as a bank which was providing, I think, prepaid card services for its customers, and then travel services and so on. And then eventually has now got a banking license. So you can imagine, for a customer which was used to this kind of a digital experience with Revolut, is now also going to get a banking experience. So banks are competing with a lot of these neobanks, and which is why huge investments are being done both in tech, data, and AI, so that the banking technology can kind of keep pace with this change of digitalization. Right? Now, when you look at this, what's changing and what's shifting, there is a lot of focus on what they call as personalization. Okay, so while we talked about the fact that technology is now equitable, the banks are also looking at how do we personalize the journeys for the customer. Right now, personalization is a very important thing. There's a lot of investment that are happening in data which are supporting personalization. And when we look at that, for example, I'll give an example of personalization. You're looking at, now for your bank so a customer can be prompted, like if you get a deposit into your bank, a customer can be prompted that, okay, you've got a deposit. Would you like to save in these are the saving products? Would you like to save here? And so, which was otherwise being done by relationship managers.
Right.
Yeah. So how is AI and tech changing? That we are now able to say that the work that was being done by relationship managers can now be shifted to be done by AI agents who can then prompt the customers to doing things differently. Okay. Now that's one big shift. The banks also are a lot about working for purpose rather than just about business anymore, right? So their intent also is to say that, can we get the customers to save more? Can we get customers to look, and obviously that benefits the banks in turn, but so can we have personalized controls like gambling controls? You've already spent so much on gambling, and you get a prompt saying that you already spent so much. Do you remember that you have a saving goal to spend against? And can you to save against? Can you can, so those controls and those nudges are being sent out to the customer. Now those are the latest personalization journeys that are happening in banking. Now that, of course, I just wanted to bring out personalization because that's the newbie on AI, because AI and data are kind of enabling personalization. But I think you also touched upon digital payments, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Now, digital payments, I think probably India can boast of the best digital payments infrastructure that the country has built, right? Now, we know that the digital payment infrastructure, DPI, has been built in India. and is so successful that is being adopted by different other countries in the world.
Okay.
Now, DPI is where your UPI, your Unified Payment Interface, is being made available for banks, so that the likes of Paytm and other fintech providers are able to use these rails, which are being set up by the government, and look at making faster payments. Now, earlier, if you need to make an account-to-account transfer, you can imagine it used to take so much time. All you now do is Paytm. A Paytm is not only being used by yourselves, but even now, a vegetable vendor, a vendor on the street, your guys who are selling golgappas are using Paytm. So you can imagine the kind of leveler technology has created by making these simple tools and means available. So I think the DPI is huge. If you just look at the scale of DPI, the scale of the digital payments that are happening in the country on UPI, we do about 20 billion transactions every month, which basically means that we do about 700 million transactions every day as a country on DPI, which is again huge and can be compared to anywhere in the world. So digital payments, I think, have been one of the most, I would say, one of the best innovations that have happened in digitalization, be it working with fintechs or with banking, which are supporting the masses, and I think that's huge. Yeah.
Okay. So Shalini, tell me, when we're talking about AI and we're saying that it is going to help in everyday banking and all of that, but I'm sure it'll also have a role to play in things like fraud detection and then customer experience with regards to that. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah. So when we look at AI in the work that we do, there are a couple of aspects of how AI is making a difference to organizations, right? Now, if you take banking, for example, the difference it's making is to a person who's a technologist. Person who's a technologist looking at building code is now using AI tools for faster development and faster deployment, to the extent that the roles or the job families of our developers are changing. We are no more now looking at pure software developers. We're looking at people who can adopt AI and look at end-to-end development, spec-driven development, as they call it. Where you get a requirement, and you can use an AI tool, and then you can deploy them, into production. So that is one aspect, which we call as the internal customer, which is the internal customer for the bank who's using AI. The other important person or a stakeholder in AI is your operational colleagues. So many times you will call up the bank and you'll say that it just kind of goes into an operations team, and you say, I have a complaint and I want you to solve this for me. Now, this operations colleague, you will not believe, will have to go through large number of systems, understand where the complaint is coming from, and then look at resolving it for you.
Right.
With AI, there are tools which summarize the voice recording of the customer. Give him a quick summary of, what the customer's main challenge was. If the customer was very, very agitated, if the customer was okay, and so the responses can happen accordingly. We'll be able to draft emails and send them out. We'll be able to quickly respond to the customer, because he himself doesn't have to scan all the data. The AI tools are scanning the data and providing the responses. So it's helping the operational school. But last but not the least, AI and how it's helping the end customer. And that's where a lot of the conversations that are happening on AI about fraud detection, financial crime are becoming very prevalent. But the flip side is the digitalization has caused more fraud as well. Yeah. So it's also about, but of course, there are very sophisticated fraud detection tools that have come in. Now, I'll give you another example. You've used your debit card. You generally are using your debit card in Delhi. You generally go to your Zara's and your few merchants. You generally do low value transactions. Now, suddenly you go to Latin and you're making a transaction there. You will notice that you will get an alert from the bank.
Yes.
It will tell you that, this is not your usual transactions. Now, these systems were in place, but with AI, they've become even more sophisticated, much faster. And now you get contextual prompts because of change of location and the other. So that's the other way in which, AI is enabling that. But I think I want to call out one very interesting aspect, which is financial crime. Now, what is financial crime? Financial crime is a lot about anti-money laundering.
Okay.
Now, we know that banks need to protect the customers against anti-money laundering norms so that we do not, in a way, fuel terrorist activities and the others, because a lot of money is getting laundered for that.
Yeah.
Now, for example, if you receive a large deposit in your bank suddenly, you're getting a regular recurring payment coming into your bank of salary, of whatever XYZ amount. And suddenly you get a large amount, which is about 10 times that amount that you was not expected to get, right? Then you have the systems are sophisticated. They're called transaction monitoring systems. They're sophisticated enough to be able to alert the bank that there is this new transaction that's coming to this customer, and we need to do a bit of due diligence why this money is coming. Or, for example, the money is coming from Cuba.
Right.
Suddenly, right? So why is the money coming from a sanctions country? Now, financial crime is using a lot of good technology and AI innovation to be able to, process this much faster and, make it much easier for the banks to be able to evaluate that. Another example I'm going to give you on financial crime, because I worked in financial crime for 5 years and I'm very, very well versed with that. There are fuzzy logics about my name is Khan. So you notice that when, if your name is Khan, then you're a number of times, or for that matter, any other of the other names, a number of times the transactions are monitored against these names because these people exist in the sanctions list, in different ways. So a very sophisticated financial crime management tools are coming up on AI, much faster, much slicker, and people who are actually valid and they actually need to be doing that are not stopped. Otherwise, people who are not expected to go through the transaction are stopped because just happen to have a name which is similar to any other fraudster. So that's how a lot of fraud detection and financial crime are getting supported with AI. Wow. So I hope that answers your. So I'll try to give you a holistic view of AI.
And it gives you, while a lot of things are happening, but how, while it is, how should I say, enabling customers to do things quickly, but at the same time, there are certain other things, like you said about these, the financial crime and all of that, it's taking care. So it's a very, very holistic, how should I say, a process. So tell me, my next question is related to this only, that since now AI is becoming so central to finance, so banks have to, kind of balance innovation with responsibility, trust, data ethics. So it must be becoming very challenging for them, right? So how are they, doing all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's really very pertinent because now, for example, a very important decisions for a customer, whether he needs to be given a loan or whether he needs to be given a mortgage, all these important decisions the bank is making using AI tools or AI algorithms. Now, AI algorithms are running on data, right? And as you would have heard, I'm sure many a times, that data is biased and data is skewed. So if there's bias in data, then the algorithms which are running on this data are going to give you biased responses.
Right.
Yeah. Are going to give you biased responses. So I think that's one of the things. That's one of the things that the banks are very, very cognizant of, and very strong AI ethics frameworks are being put in place, which are really important so that we make the right decisions. Another important example of data bias is, of course, gender bias. Now, I read a book called Invisible Women.
Yes.
Have you read about it? Okay. And it talks about bias in data because of the stereotypes that have been in the system, because they were designed by men and for men, right? So it talks about that. So imagine this data that has been in the system for so many years, if this data has got a bias towards men, then the algorithms which are going to run on this data are going to have bias.
Okay.
And apparently, there have been live examples how AI algorithms have been run and they've showcased these biases.
Okay.
I'll give you an example again here. So Amazon had shared how it ran. It was looking at recruiting. Amazon was looking at recruiting, and it ran its AI algorithms to find 10 best engineers, and probably 9 or whatever, large number of men engineers showed up, because that was what they were hiring for so many years. But if they wanted to break that bias, then they obviously had to shift the data. So I think what I'm trying to call out here is that a lot of the focus that the banks are working on, or for example, or various organizations are working on, are eliminating data bias so that the AI which are running on this data can become more unbiased. And very, very importantly, setting up AI ethics and responsible AI, as they call it, responsible AI frameworks, so that we can help eliminate that.
Very interesting. I mean, in I think a layperson's world, when people are talking about AI, there is a lot of negative connotation to it also, that it's going to replace jobs, it's going to kill creativity, innovation. But speaking to you and this conversation is opening my eyes to the various ways in which AI is coming to our aid. And in fact, using that is, an innovation in itself. We are not only, how should I say, shortening the length of, the various processes involved, and plus we are making it do so many other things which were not possible earlier. So yeah, that's very, very interesting and a great eye-opener. Okay.
Super.
So tell me, Shalini, you've been a pioneer when it comes to making digitalization an integral part of banking technology. Now, could you share how this initiative is simplifying and securing customer journeys? I mean, there is one thing which is happening and one thing what you have seen. So I want your experience.
Yeah, so I think I already talked about that in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the work that we do is about creating these compelling customer journeys, so that we can bring more and more customers to the bank. We can, when banks are looking at purpose, looking at customers to save more, as well as and also I think interestingly, a lot of organizations are now competing with the Netflix and the Amazons of the world when it comes to providing personalized customer experience. They're saying that a customer comes to the bank and or for that matter any other organization, and say that if Amazon can provide multiple product options because of what I searched, then why is it that I cannot get similar product options coming in from banks or otherwise? So a lot of this is the space where everybody is trying to understand the evolving or the changing expectations of the customer, so that we can look at further digitalization. A lot of work is also happening in terms of integration with fintechs. There are many times that there are fintechs which are offering some very interesting services. Now, for example, there are fintechs which help you with carbon footprint.
Right.
Now, if you're a bank and you want to know more about how you want to help a customer, support the sustainability of the organization, or for the matter of the country, then you can actually look at so organizations are looking at how you can integrate with these fintechs, for that matter, if there are fintechs which are helping you with loan processing, KYC, and the other. No, none of the organizations want to do everything on their own. If you have got a very good fintech, integrate with them. You have a services-based architecture. You can expose your APIs, get that integration done, and then give the customer a more holistic experience. Wow. So that's how the digitalization journey is shifting, and constantly organizations are trying to understand that what can you do more. And I think some of the stellar examples are coming from our country. The work that's happening with Blinkit are, in terms of how they are managing the customer needs. You've seen how Blinkit has managed to shift the dial in terms of meeting the customer needs in 10 minutes, all aspects of the customer needs, making it local as well as making it topical. So, for example, if it's Holi, then you'll get a lot of the Holi products. If it's Diwali, then you can buy whatever you want for that. So I'm just saying, so that is personalization, and that is how organizations or brands are competing with these kind of organizations. So it's just to give your perspective.
Very, very fascinating. And yes, of course, kind of reiterating what we already know. Okay, so Shalini, as you know, this is a woman-centric platform, so we do have to have questions about women, and of course, women in AI. All right. Now, as I understand, that women are still underrepresented in AI and core technology roles. Now, tell me from your experience, what you see around you, what systemic barriers still exist and how do we begin to remove them?
Yeah, okay, sure. So if you remember, I just talked about the AI algorithm, which Amazon was talking about when they were hiring, and they're looking for women, looking for the right hire, and they found 10 engineers, right? Now, why is this happening? Is because of the data bias. If more and more women start taking on database roles, or data analyst or data engineers, data scientist based roles, then the prompts that you give to these algorithms are going to be more diverse. So what are the organizations doing? The organizations are saying that the people who are going to work on this logic, on this algorithmic logic, need to be diverse. They just cannot be men, because again, it'll be invisible women then. Men designing and defining everything that's needed for men. So we need more women in the AI workforce to shift their role towards taking on these more changing roles around data and AI, so that the world can now looking at better AI adoption and a more diverse AI adoption. And when we look at responsible AI, that's only possible if more women join that part of the workforce.
Right.
Yeah. So that's of course one aspect. Now, of course, not every woman is going to be looking at becoming a data scientist or data engineer. But the worry in the world is that a lot of the AI is going to automate the jobs which are easily reputable. Right? And a lot of women choose to do these reputable jobs because it gives them a better balance, they can take time off and so on. So the people who are going to be impacted by AI, many of them can be women, because of the fact that a number of them are doing these repetitive jobs. So they say that AI is not going to replace your jobs, but people who do not adopt AI are going to be replaced by people who do. So AI adoption for women is becoming imperative, because if the men move faster in AI adoption, they will become more productive in terms of what they're delivering, and women again will be left behind. So there are various aspects of the AI in the way the women can now look at it. It's not only about becoming a data engineer, data scientist, but a lot about AI adoption to improve your own productivity, so that you can be out there competing with the men in doing that. Why I also call that out is that historically, when I, as a DNR gender balance, I do a lot of these talks. Historically, the adoption of technology by women is lower than that by men. Right? Again, because that's because of the stereotype. That's because they believe that this is a barrier. That's because of imposter syndrome sometimes. Or for that matter, they believe this job is not exciting. But I personally think with AI, the boring part of the job is being done by AI now. So women should now look at taking on more roles in technology, because now it is going to be about more value-added work, more interesting work. You can work as a product analyst, a product owner, understand the business as much as you understand how technology is going to enable the business, rather than just writing boring code, which was probably sometime, which is historic and now archaic as we move forward. So I think that's the shift that women need to start appreciating, that the jobs going forward are not going to be the ones that you chose to move out from, but they're going to be more interesting, more exciting, and probably AI adoption is going to be absolutely imperative.
Absolutely. So what I understand is that first of all, of course, women need to be more proactive now and understand that this is going to be, a way of life going forward. So this has to be accepted. And again, I think not only do parents also need to step in, push girls towards these fields and make them do things which are not run of the mill but are something different, like we were talking about repetitive tasks and all of that, the kind of jobs that women used to do earlier. So it has to come from everywhere. The society, parents, women themselves all have to work towards this and move towards a world which is changing, because if you don't change, the world is changing anyways, you're going to be left behind. So that's
Absolutely.
very, very important.
Right. That's absolutely.
So, Shalini, when we are talking about, women, the imposter syndrome, and women, wanting to do repetitive tasks because of
Whatever reasons, yeah.
yeah. So, in that context, the role and to a certain extent, if I may say, the responsibility of a role model becomes very important. Someone who's already been there, who's there and doing it. So tell me, in this context, how is how important is visibility, seeing women in senior tech roles for inspiring more girls to pursue AI and digital tech careers?
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely pertinent that, platforms like yours and many others are enabling more women be able to appreciate the fact that technology is also a role that is absolutely adoptable. Now,
Right.
when I started my career, as I said, we were 6 out of 60, right? But now that has shifted. The ITES industry, in India is as well. If I'm not mistaken, is if 22% is the workforce of women participation, the number of women now participating in technology is much different from what it was earlier. Now, having said that, I think what is really important also as women leaders for us is to be able to advocate the work that we do, in terms of technology, but also look at promoting people to take on an upskilling. So you need to be continuously learning, you need to be upskilling, because no role in this moment and time is going to let you just stay and learn on the job. It is going to be about constantly learning because the times are changing. So I would say that having role models who are aspirational are very important. But I think more importantly, as women role models, it's very important to look at mentoring. It's very important to look at. So one of the things that I advocate very strongly is mentorship and sponsorship. Now, interestingly, the International Women's Day or the International Women's Month this time was about hashtag Give to Gain. And hashtag Give to Gain is really about, one of the things about that is about actionable generosity. Now, when you say actionable generosity, what comes to my mind then is mentoring. Can you look at supporting other women in the space that who are already in the industry or looking at stepping into the industry, and look at supporting them in terms of what are their challenges, what are their inhibitions, and why would they want to not take on these roles? And that becomes very important. I personally do a lot of mentoring at work, and I absolutely enjoy it. And I do notice that the questions that come to me from women are very different than those that come from men. And I think, again, as I always say, that if I can make a difference to the life of a woman and in technology, then that becomes something that's a huge giveaway for me. So I kind of hashtag Give to Gain.
Well, it is true. So, of course, I think in every sphere of life, role models, mentors, sponsors are required. But I think little more in the tech area because of the fact that historically women were not encouraged to be part of this space. Now, of course, it has changed, but still we need to, as women who can do it, mentor, sponsor, be there for them so that at least whatever, it may be a drop in the ocean, but eventually every drop counts. So whatever we can do, I think it needs to be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're someone, who's been shaping, the skills agenda in tech, if I may say so. So tell me, anybody who wants to, move ahead in this space, what capabilities do you believe they will define the tech workforce of tomorrow? I mean, what
Yeah.
the need.
Absolutely, very important. So I think the most important aspect of the skill that you need is to be change ready, to be agile, to be nimble, to be able to be ready to take on change. Because change is, as you know, the only constant, and technology at the pace it's moving has never been um, faster than before. So, and it's only going to be faster. So, I think for me that aspect is very important. Now, having said that, technology adoption and technology skills have moved as we were talking about. There are Java microservices skills for service oriented work. There's cloud computing. There's data. Now these are a lot of the shift that we're seeing in terms of the roles, where a lot of the new roles are expected to be in this space.
Okay.
And with AI adoption, we also know that purest technology development roles are going to be again passive. They're going to be historic. We will now need to have women and everyone actually looking at adoption of AI tools to be able to move faster in the value chain of development in technology as well. So all these aspects are eventually about saying that, and you will not believe the number of AI technology tools that are coming in every couple of weeks.
Yes.
There's Claude, there's Claude coming up with new features. There's OpenAI, there is Perplexity. There are these so many of these tools, and everyone's getting lost about which one is better than the other. But if you do not try and experiment with technology and do not try to adopt technology, you are definitely going to be left behind. Organizations are now looking at leaders making sure that they are adopting AI to scale rather than just the just the youngsters. And another important, interesting thing that's coming up is multi-generational mentoring. So you have a grad coming in, mentoring a senior leader, and a senior leader then doing reverse mentoring to the grad, because you learn so much from a grad these days. As much as probably the grad will take away from you. So a lot of these aspects are happening, are being done in organizations, because they recognize that continuous learning is the only way to survive. So I think that's probably my message to anybody who's looking at a role in technology.
See, I think, this is something one always has to be open to change. I think that holds true no matter which time period you're talking about. But now with technology and with AI, like you said, the change is so rapid. It's like, at the blink of the eye, something is changing. So first of all, you have to accept that this is here to stay. You cannot wish it away. It is here. So you have to learn, you have to accept, and you have to pick up as much as you can. So I think having an open mindset, and what you talked about reverse mentoring also is so important. Most adults like to believe that we know everything, and the person out there who's probably younger by 10, 20 years doesn't, but that's not true.
That's
I think
not true.
when it comes to technology, they are faster. I mean, I'm learning a lot from my son. He keeps telling me, okay, do it that way. So an open mindset is so important, right?
Absolutely. Same is true with me. I learn so much from my daughter.
Yeah.
And when I have my conversation with her and tell her about, small language models versus large language models, and she's like, "Oh, mom, you do know this. You do know the difference."
Absolutely.
and it's just great to see the inputs that the youngsters can give you.
Yes. Okay. So, of course, you have a lot to do with DI, gender balance, and all that. So, tell me, we've been talking about the systemic barriers and how women need to break those, and whether it's an imposter syndrome or whether parents or society. But tell me, when it comes to organizations and building an equitable workplace, what can be done by them so that women do not just join, but they thrive and they rise? Because that is equally important.
Yeah. So I think it's a whole, I would say it's a medley of things that the organizations need to do. When organizations say that we're looking at equality, it's really about equity.
Yes.
It's really about making sure that we're creating practices which create an ecosystem in which women thrive.
Right.
Right now, and I think that's organizations which have that culture are absolutely promoting an equitable workplace. Now, what that really means is that making sure that And we also know that, when we start, when you look at the pipeline, and when women and men start their careers, we pretty much have parity.
Yeah.
50% joining the career, right? But then the pipeline gets leaky in the mid management and the other areas. And that's where a lot of organizations are investing in what they call as caring responsibilities, making sure that women can be ready to take on time off from work, give them little flexibility because they need to take care of their children or their aging parents and so on. So a lot of investments are happening in the care industry. United Nations is also looking at what more they can do in the care industry, so that piece of work also can be outsourced, if you like. So that's happening. So organizations need to be looking at adopting or being sensitive to that part of the thing. But more importantly, it's about ensuring that you look at the stereotypes in the organization, look at unconscious bias, look at trainings in which you you enable a fair amount of sensitivity with the male allies in terms of unconscious bias that can be prevalent in the ecosystem, and try and eliminate unconscious bias. But last but not the least is to give women mentorship and sponsorship opportunities and a constant leadership learning opportunity, so that women can, a number of women do not sign up for leadership roles many a time. They do not lean in because they believe that with that leadership responsibility will take away from what they could do for their family, or the time they could spend with their children. So how do we help them? We help them through mentoring, saying that, or help them with a fair amount of a sponsorship, so that they can take on these roles. But when they do take on their roles, I'm sure the challenges that they face are something that they can then advocate and support the other women with. So I think it's a whole medley of things that organizations are investing on, and it's really great to see the investments that are happening in all aspects of upskill, of making sure that we're building an equitable workplace.
Yes, because again, like, this is the need of the hour. You cannot close your eyes and say it doesn't exist, because it very much exists. You may close your eyes, but doesn't mean it's going to, like I said, you can't wish it away. It's there. So again, like AI, accept that this is what it is. You do need
Correct.
diversity, be open to it, and take measures, because eventually it is going to help the business and the country and so on and so forth. So why not
Absolutely.
do it? Okay. So tell me, continuing in this, say, flow, what would you say to a young woman who wants to enter AI or digital transformation, but feels the field is too competitive and it's maybe not for women?
Yeah. I think that's a myth now. And I just talked about the fact that specifically now with AI coming in, a lot of the repetitive jobs are moving away. A lot of women thought that, oh, I'm not good in math, then I should not be looking at technology. That doesn't exist anymore, because you if you have a fair amount of logic, which I'm sure everybody does, right? Then a lot of the repetitive work is going to be done. Your coding development work is going to be done by AI in the future. And you can be looking at your business acumen for better product development or better service development for the customers of that organization. And that is very interesting, because you're competing in a space that ideally should be diverse, because your consumer, end of the day, is diverse.
Yes.
Your consumer is not only men. Your consumer is at times more than 50% are women.
Yeah.
In a lot of the industries. So if your consumers are diverse, then it's really important that the workforce is diverse to meet those evolving needs of the customer, more so in this era of digitalization, because the customer journeys that we are defining now need to not be invisible to women.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there is no such thing as this not being for women. You said something very important and very sensible, that everybody has a logical mindset. It just needs to be maybe encouraged. Maybe, the focus has to go there. And, basically, I think it also comes back to parenting. where
Of
you
course.
are inculcating that confidence, that courage, that self-belief in your child, whether it's a boy or a girl, and
Yeah,
not making these distinctions that these are things that only a girl can do and these are things that only a boy can do. Everyone
absolutely.
can do anything,
Absolutely.
just where you apply yourself, and you can.
Absolutely. I think parents are the first people in the child's lives who have to learn to break these stereotypes.
Yes.
You know, we a lot of us grew up saying that the medicine is for women and engineering is for men.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, and I think that was like a fact more than anything
yeah,
else. It was just like factually it stated,
yeah,
But many of us broke the norm, and I think are role models for the fact that we've been equally successful not doing medicine.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm.
So finally, tell me, what does a truly inclusive future of banking tech look like to you? And what role can platforms like ours play in accelerating that change?
Yeah. So I think we've talked,
Yeah.
we've made some very good conversation about why it is important for to have more women in the workforce.
Hmm.
Why is it, and not only for organizations, but for women themselves in terms of financial empowerment, equal opportunity in all that we do. But obviously, even today, I think today's newspapers to call that in Delhi, the workforce of women participation is only 22%, which
Hmm.
means 1 out of 5 women are actually going to work and are financially empowered,
Hmm.
which obviously tells us that we need more role models out there,
Yeah.
inspiring women to take on roles that they think they can best fit and best,
Yeah.
and they don't have. And this world is a hybrid world now. It's not a world in which you need to be working on a 9 to 5,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So there's a lot of flexibility. So platforms like yours, I would say, are absolutely fundamental in terms of sending that message out to a lot of the women out there who probably could have some inhibitions about what it means for them in being in the workforce, being in the industry, or just about making a difference to people's lives by providing a service of some sort. A
Yeah.
lot of women don't necessarily have to be in tech, for that matter. They are
Yeah.
making a lot of difference in different ways in the service industry. So I think it's a lot about um, you know knowing what you dream of, following your dreams, and your dreams will then shape your way. And I think that becomes very, very fundamental. And I know each one of us are born with a dream.
Absolutely. And there is no discrimination or no bias when it
No
comes to
bias there.
dreams.
Yeah,
You can dream of being anything and then
absolutely.
just follow it through. It will.
Just follow it through. Yeah, true that.
All right. So, Shalini, while we've come to the end of the conversation, we still have the rapid fire round, which is
Mhm.
5 quick questions followed by 5 quick answers. Something which comes to your head straight away. No.
Sure, sure.
All right. So, ready?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. The first one. The biggest myth about women in tech.
That they are not technologically competent.
Yes. Yes, of course. The next one. AI. Overhyped or underutilized?
Underutilized.
Yeah, we still have a long way to go there.
Long way to go.
Okay. The next one. If AI could solve one problem for women globally, what would it be or what should it be?
Um, Enabling faster learning.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that if there are barriers in terms of how you can learn, just making it faster for everybody for the diverse work parts of the world. Yeah,
Next, one skill every woman in tech must build today.
sorry.
Must build today.
Yeah, be change ready.
All right. Okay. And finally, your go-to way to reset after a long day. So not a tech question.
Meet my friends over coffee.
Oh, yes, we know that. All right. Okay. So, Shalini, as I think I've said this a couple of times during the course of the conversation, this has been so, fascinating, a big eye opener. And like whatever you have spoken about in terms of tech in banking, AI, there's so many things that I learned which I did not know about, and certain things which got reiterated, and the fact that yes, technology is changing, AI is here to stay, better accepted. So very, very fascinating, very
Thank you so
inspiring.
much.
Thank you
I
so
Thank
much.
you so much, Sangeeta, for having me. I absolutely enjoyed the conversation. And I'm
Sure,
hoping, as I said, that the others who are listening in will absolutely enjoy what we have talked about.
I'm sure.
So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for being there. Thank you for tuning in to the About Her show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her show.